Hey everybody, I'm Romi Hill and I am the designer and knitwear design teacher behind Designs by Romi. And this is clue 3 of my 2025 Mystery Shawl. And it's really awesome to see you all here in the chat. You brighten my day. And I noticed that Barbara, I was going to ask you, I saw your message up at the top that said you finished clue 3 and I was like, oh my God, you're so fast. But I'm glad you're not whipping through it that fast. I'm glad it was only clue number 2. So I love seeing everybody, you're like watching from so many different places. And I am in Northern Nevada. Still not back in my studio, so still streaming from exile, but making the best of it. So here we go. Anyway, if you could like and subscribe, I would love that. That would be fantastic if you would do that. So today we are going to talk about clue 3. And I want you to think of all the questions, like be thinking about all your questions that you have that you want me to answer, and just put them in the chat. And I will be kind of looking at the chat as we go along and trying to make sure that I catch everybody's questions. So, and then I see, so Terry at the bottom here, Terry is a moderator in my Ravelry group. So, so that some awesome moderators drop by and listen. We had Heather before, and here's Terry. And I think I don't know, I don't think Kathleen was able to before, but it's always nice to see everybody. And if you have not gone and kind of checked out the Ravelry group, definitely do so, because that is where most of the chattering happens. And if you have questions or anything like during the week, and it's like an emergency, like a mystery emergency, usually you can just go over to the Ravelry group and somebody will be there, and everybody is friendly and helpful and wonderful, and they will let you know the answer to your question. So okay, so I am going to switch over here and talk about, turn the light on there. So don't pay attention to this front page here. It's actually a beta version that I printed accidentally. I'm just having one of those days. Anyway, so, but the only thing that was different was up at the top here. I had to correct some stuff. So that's the only thing that was different. So this time, there's a list of helpful videos here. So I do something called teeny tiny tutorials. And in each of these clues, you'll see that there's a list of little videos that you can look at. So you don't have to go through this entire live. If you're just looking for a particular technique or something like that, it will be over here. And unfortunately, I don't have the equipment at the moment to add to them right now, but if you have something that you want me to demonstrate, I'm very happy to do that. So over here, this looks like a little tiny clue compared to the first part. And that is because I divide the yarn up into 5 portions. So I try to keep them pretty similar in amount used. And so that means there's kind of a lot going on in the first couple of clues, because you're going to be learning like new techniques and stuff, and it looks like you're using a lot of yarn, but in reality it's pretty much divided evenly. So this one is worked in color 1 and color 2 again. And so, oh, and there's Heather, yay. I was just mentioning, yay, I'm glad you're here. Nice to see you. Heather is also a moderator in my Ravelry group. And the moderators in my Ravelry group are freaking awesome, just so you know. Okay, so just the first part here. For the first part, you're going to be carrying the unused yarn up the side, and I will show you a little bit in the chart why that is. And then you're going to be breaking your yarn. So a lot of times in my mystery shawls, I don't have you break the yarn, but in this particular one, it just needed to happen. So we'll talk a little bit about that when I get there. And then chart F is only worked in color 2. So, and color 2 for those who got a verb kit is the mohair. And also, I mean, for those who are just mohair lovers like I am like, I just have a huge soft spot for mohair. So, yeah, what can I say? Okay, so let's go over here to the abbreviations page. I think there are a couple of new abbreviations in here. So there's a knit 3 together, and then there is an SSSK, 3SK over here, and also a make one purl. And you can see in the key to the what you see is what you knit symbols, I've added those as well. So here's the 3SK. There's a CDD. So a lot of you will know this as S2K2P. And I think that looks a little too much like SK2P. So I like to call it a CDD. It's like, it's a centered double decrease. And I think that it's harder just to glance at it and mistake it for something that it's not. So in here called a CDD. And you can see up here, I said, or S2K2P2. So for those of you who are used to seeing that. And as usual, also, I have been putting this in my patterns, and so if you have purchased anything through my site, or you have questions about how my site works, it links to Ravelry, so that if you have purchased your mystery shawl on Ravelry, you can also download it off of my site. And if you make an account on my site and link to Ravelry, and you purchase something on my site, you can download it on Ravelry. So, and there are frequently asked questions here. So there's some other stuff in here, like all of my, if you're wondering how to get to any of my groups or anything like that, like the Facebook group or the Ravelry group or tutorials or any of that stuff, use this little QR code and it will take you to this landing page where it's got links to everything and frequently asked questions. Alrighty, so when I was looking at this, I noticed a mistake that I didn't notice before, but this up here, this little purl up here, that should actually be a knit. So I will correct that later on, but for now, I'm just gonna leave it there. So as always, I have the written instructions below the chart here. And for those of you who maybe haven't gotten farther along in the mystery shawl and noticed this, a lot of my charts will be split like this, so that instead of making this huge, giant, long chart that's really difficult to use, instead I will incorporate each of the repeats into this center repeat as it goes up. So then you can see at the bottom it starts, you're working this 15 times, then it goes to 17, and then it goes to 19 up at the top. So, and also just a reminder for those who are not used to seeing this, these are no stitch symbols. So this is literally, there is absolutely nothing there. There's nothing to slip. I often get a question if these are slipped stitches, and they are not. They actually don't exist at all. And what they are is just a placeholder. So just so the chart lines up nicely and you can see how everything grows. So last time I showed you how to do this little stitch here, and I'm just gonna give like a quick reminder as far as what this is. I think I have hair all over myself. I'm shedding. Okay, so if you look at the side here, you'll always be able to tell which yarn color or which yarn you're using in the row. So here you have 4 rows, and this is color 2, and then you have these 2 rows of color 1, and also hi Maria, it's lovely to see you there. And you can see, as usual, I have my numbers of 5 marked off using just color 1. I didn't do it here with color 2 because I judged that to be a little too busy. So it's just marked off with color 1, and the color doesn't mean anything at all except for that it is little batches of 5. So if you start at the right and you're going across, it's just to help you in these areas where you're working a lot of stockinette stitch, and it's just a counting aid to make sure you don't get off. Okay, so Eileen asks, do you have to break the yarn or can you do the big loop? So that is, unfortunately for this one, you cannot do the big loop unless you want to do a giant loop that goes all the way across the row. And that is because when we finish over here with, and what Eileen is talking about is my safety loop. So I often just make a big loop as I'm going up the side when I switch yarns, and then at the end I'll cut them all. So for instance, if I were going to leave off with color 2 right here and then start again on a right side row up here, I would just make a big loop here so I could cut at the end and then weave them in. So with this one, I can't do that because I needed to start my color 2 on the wrong side for this one. And I will explain, I'll explain why that has to be this time. Okay, so up here you can see we have a motif that has a triple yarn over, and that is sometimes kind of confusing to people because it looks like there are 3 separate symbols there, but in reality it's just one big hole. So however you want to get your 3 stitches into that one big hole, you're totally fine. Like if you drop one of them off or something like that, don't worry about it. It's just one big hole, and I will demonstrate that for you as well. So however you want to get those 3 stitches in, you can even just have like one of the yarn overs up there when you get to the other side. So don't worry if you drop it, that is really easily fixed. So again, I like to keep those the stitches over the yarn overs on the next right side row. I like to keep them nice and twisted just to make it neat and tidy up at the top there. So I talked a little bit about that in the first video where I was showing the double yarn overs. And we have, again, the T increase, which is, I think, is my favorite increase for the spine now. I can't imagine ever having a more favorite increase. I love that thing so much. And some make one pearls. So I will talk about that too. And this one is the what you see is what you knit, by the way. So when you're looking at the wrong side, this is literally what you're knitting. So instead of switching this over to purl, when you see these knit stitches on the wrong side, you're just going to be knitting them. So this is a garter ridge right here. And then we go on to chart F. So chart F has some lace. And if you are unfamiliar with working with mohair for like lacy things, you might want to try this out on a different yarn first if you feel uncomfortable about the prospect of working lace and mohair. So if you want to try it out, I would just suggest, you know, doing a little tiny swatch or something like that, and you can get kind of accustomed to the pattern. And once you're accustomed to the pattern, it's super easy to transfer it over into mohair. And sometimes I even do that now, even though I've knit with like gazillions and gazillions of yards of mohair. Once in a while, I just think, okay, well, I'm just going to try it out on something that's not fuzzy so I can see the pattern first before doing it. And this chart here, chart F, only shows the right side rows. So this has a very simple wrong side row. It is just 2 stitches knit through the back loop on either side, and then in the interior it's all purled across. So about the sides here where I'm knitting through the back loop, a lot of times when you're knitting something that is at a slightly looser gauge, you'll find that the sides are looking a little bit loose and sloppy. So instead of slipping that first stitch on each row, which would make it much more difficult to block, instead in my shawls I knit them through the back loop. And that kind of cleans things up by twisting those side stitches, and it still allows you to block it out and stretch it a lot. So I do not suggest ever slipping a stitch on lace like this. So if your edge for a shawl is looking kind of sloppy or something like that, try twisting the stitch, and that will probably give you a nice clean edge. Okay, so let me see. So, and then Eileen says, don't you break C2 after row 10? I have definitely been known to make lots of mistakes before, so let me see. Where did I say to say it? Oh, yeah. Yes, you are. Let's see. So I said break C2 after row 12. And yeah, you can break it after row 10. I'm not sure why I put that in there, but yes. Yep, you're absolutely right. So, but you can actually break it after row 12 too, if you want to wait a couple of more rows. So wherever you want to break it. And then importantly, you just have to break it before you get to row 20. So wherever you want to break it, that's fine. Okay, so I did want to show you on this one where C2 only is used. I did do my shading here, so you can see that there are blocks of 5 across here, just to help you count. Alrighty. And then on the last page here, and Eileen saying always happy to not be crazy. Yeah, me too, but I mean today's your day not to be crazy. Today's my day to be crazy. So so on this one is just kind of got christened what you see is what you get, and this is what the front side of your clue will look like. So if you're working, this is the texture you'll see on the front side. So on this type of chart here, you are going to reverse the symbols on the wrong side. So for instance, here it shows pearl because that reflects the texture that you're getting on the right side. But to get that texture on the right side, you need to knit it on the wrong side. So if you take a look down here at the key, you can, that's going to be a dead giveaway for you. That here, when you see this little knit symbol and it says right side knit, wrong side purl, that is how you know that you are switching the meaning of the symbols between the right and the wrong side. So in here you can see right side purl, wrong side knit. So when you see those here, then you are going to knit on the wrong side. And then down here, this is all like in the between here, this is all like a stockinette background. And then as we come back up here too, you can see that there is another garter ridge right here. And then above these, you can see that the middle one is going to be different. So because we can't work 3 knits into a triple yarn over, because what happens is that you just get a big loop. You don't, it won't stay as 3 distinct stitches, and that's what we want. And then at the top, we have this. Okie doke. So the reason I'm starting over here on the wrong side. So when you start lace, you're actually working these patterns with the loops that are already on your needle. So in order for me to have this show up as a color 2 stitch, I need to use color 2 loops, if that makes sense. So when I do lace like this, when I do 2 color lace like this, I will generally do 1 wrong side row of whatever I'm changing to, whatever color I'm changing to, so that the first row of the lace will look like it is in that color. So it's the same as with cables. If you have worked with cables, you know that you're cabling with the loops that are already on your needle. So the pattern appears to be like, sometimes it appears to be 1 row lower than it looks like it is on the chart. And so if you ever want to experiment with it, try starting lace without that wrong side row and compare it to lace with that wrong side row before you change your colors, and you'll be able to see that it does make a difference. Okay, so I'm not going to go over this part down at the bottom here, because this is really a continuation of the patterning that we had before in Clue 2. Up here, I did want to remind you with these make ones here that you can use you can use a right or a left, whichever one you like, a make one right or a make one left. Whichever is easier for you. Probably the make one left is going to be easier for you. And remember last time we talked about the make one left versus the make one right. And if you're confused also, there is a little video that you can watch as well. So if you get to that part and you're like, what the heck did she say? You can just take a look at the videos. There's a little tutorial, and these are like from 2 to 5 minutes long. So you don't have to go through a whole bunch of talking or anything. They're just like little tidbits of techniques. Okay, so let's do a little bit here. So I'm going to show you the triple yarn over. So over here, the other thing I want to say first before we get into this is my charts are mirrored in this shawl. So if you take a look here, you can see here's the spine, and then it's mirrored. So in other words, there are 5 stitches on this side, and if you go across here, there are 5 stitches on this side. So when we get into the triple yarn overs, when you do a triple yarn over, you're kind of faking it and making it look like it's centered in the middle here, because one side is going to have to get rid of 1 extra stitch. So on this side, you have a single decrease. On this side, you have a double decrease. And it just sort of fakes being centered here, if that makes sense. So over here, I did it opposite. So here we have a knit 3 together. Over on this side, I have a 3 SK. So that's a slip, slip, slip knit. And I use that instead of an SK2P, which is also a left-leaning double decrease, but it's more centered. So this one has more of a slant to it. So that is why it looks different. That's why this side looks different from that side. Okay, so let's do just a couple of triple yarn overs here. So this one is the one on the side here is a hidden increase. So there's only a single decrease on either side of these 3 yarn overs. So that means it's an increase of 1. So instead of doing a make 1, the increase is actually right here. Okay, so I'm going to do this one in the middle here, and I am going to do an SSK. And I'm also, a little bit later, I'm going to show you some different SSKs just for fun. So I'm just slipped, and now I'm knitting 2 together through the back loop. And I'm going to do my triple yarn over. You can see it's just 3 loops on my needle. Okay, and now for my knit 3 together, just like a knit 2 together, but knitting 3 stitches together, and that is what it looks like. So this is actually the center stitch right here, and you can see it's going to appear to be centered when it's blocked, but it's not really centered. There's no way to really get that centered unless we bind off that stitch in the middle there, and that looks a little weird, so I didn't do that. Okay, so let's go over here, and I'm just gonna do this English style. So I'm gonna do the one on this side. It's a 3 SK, so I'm going to slip as if to knit, slip as if to knit, slip as if to knit. So 3 stitches, and these are going to go back on my left needle, and I always just keep my right needle in there as well, and I'm going to knit them through the back loop. So this is not going to twist the stitches, because before I knit them through the back loop, I repositioned them so that the right leg was in the back. Okay, so now I'm going to do my triple yarn over, 2, 3. So when you do your yarn over, you also want to make sure that your right leg is in front, or if you have your right leg in back, it's not the end of the world. You just need to know that you have it there so that you can keep from twisting that stitch. Okay, and now I'm just going to knit 2 stitches together. Okay, so here are my 2 triple yarn overs, and I'm going to show you what to do on the back side. So weirdly, the SSK is actually a really controversial stitch. So I bet you didn't think there was anything controversial in knitting, but there is. And that is because it is so hard to get it looking beautiful on the front, and we all hold our needles a little bit separately or differently. So people have very definite opinions about how they like to do their SSKs. So I'll show you some of those a little later. Okay, so here we are with the triple yarn over. So remember, I was just saying before, it doesn't matter what happens, like it's just a big hole. So if it makes you feel better, you can certainly wrap the yarn back around it, but you don't need to. So if it falls off your needles, do not worry. So I'm going to knit 1. So I'm going to work it like it's 3 stitches. You can work it however you want. So I've purled 1. Now I'm going to knit 1. And now I'm going to purl 1. So first, this is going to look really messy and sloppy, and you are going to want to do something about it, but don't worry about it. It will block out, and it won't look that messy and sloppy. Okay, let's scoot on over to the other one here. Okay, so this time I'm gonna try this English style. So I'm gonna bring my yarn forward. This is the single thing that I get the most caught up with, English style, because I'm used to working with my yarn really close to the tip, so I always forget to move it back and forth. So I'm gonna purl one, move my yarn to the back, knit one, and then yarn to the front again to purl. Okay, and again, it's sloppy, do not worry. It'll all block right out. And I actually have a bag that says that, but a little bit more colorfully. Okay, there we go. And over here on the front. So this is what it looks like so far. It looks a little sloppy still, but it will start looking better as we go along. So I just need to get over to those 3 stitches that are in the yarn over, and I'm going to work those through the back loop and just sort of tidy up that area so it looks nicer and neater. And you can see it's already starting to look cleaner. And in your shawl, no one will notice that it's not exactly completely centered. It will actually look centered. When you block it out, it will block out and give you the impression that it is centered. Okay, so that is what we have. So that is our triple yarn over. And let's go the other way, and I'll show you a few other techniques that are in here that are new, like the make one purl. So the make one purl, technically you can do left and right make one purls, but I find that the purl bump really covers up whichever one it is. So unless it's a really long column of make one purls, I just use whichever one is easiest for me. Okay. So let's do make one purl. So make one purl is basically, it's very similar to make one or make one left or make one right. So I'm just gonna put this up. So I have my right leg in the back here and my left leg is in front. And I'm just going to bring my yarn forward and knit that front leg to twist the stitch. And I will show you that also English style. So let me just grab my yarn over here. I feel like I have to move my yarn ball back and forth when I switch from continental to English and back again. Okay, so I'm going to pick up this bar in between stitches, and I just have the right leg in the back because I'm going to be working into this left leg here to twist the stitch, and I'm just going to purl into that left leg, and that is going to twist my stitch because I do not want a hole in there, so I need to twist the stitch at the bottom. Oops. This is kind of splitty yarn, but I love the colors. Okay, so that is what that looks like. You can barely tell that it's there. Yes, exactly. Sue said we have to keep it PG for sure. Okay. So I saw one person, Sue was talking about color choices, and I saw one person who was using different colors of mohair in that slip stitch section, which I thought was really cool looking. Okay, so I'm going to show you a bunch of different ways to do SSKs, just because we have a little bit of extra time today. So an SSK, you can do it the way I showed it before. I'm just going to do a yarn over every time I do one of these. Okay, so I can do slip as if to knit, slip as if to knit, and that is repositioning my stitches so the right leg is in the back. I'm going to put those on to my left needle and knit those together. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is slip as if to knit, and then put this back onto your left needle, and then knit 2 stitches together through the back loop. So this twists the stitch underneath. So for some people, including me, this lays much nicer and flatter. Okay, and then there is slip as if to knit, and then knit 1, and slip the slip stitch over. And this is how I have abbreviated this one with the that little twisted stitch underneath. So I go in the front of the first stitch and in the back of the second stitch and work those 2 stitches together. So you can see underneath that underneath stitch is twisted and the one on top is straight. So this is not by any means the only methods you can use for SSK. Lots of people have different ones, and I definitely encourage you to try them because we all knit a little bit differently. So some of you will find that one of these really works for you, and then some of you will find that almost nothing works for you. I should show you too. I knew a woman who did lots and lots of lace, and she always did SSKs as knit 2 together through the back loop instead. So this is 2 twisted stitches. And at first I thought, oh my gosh, I was like the most annoying purist when I first took up lace. So I was like, oh my gosh, those are twisted. But for her, they worked really, really well. Like it made her fabric look beautiful. It was definitely, it lay right for her. So her lace was absolutely gorgeous. So even if that is what does it for you, I definitely encourage you to try all of the different ones. Oh wow, Nicole's saying she wants to make another one in neon pink and neon yellow. Wow. That would be bright and beautiful. There used to be a color of Kid Silk Haze, and I think it was called Jelly or something like that. No, I can't remember. It was this amazing, like, bright chartreuse green, which is my favorite color. And yeah, so I still have some in stash. So pretty. I have a whole bunch of chartreuse mohair. Like my 2 favorite things, chartreuse and mohair. So I couldn't resist. Okay, so I'm just gonna get to the end here, and then I'm gonna show you how to do the CDD, and we're gonna take a little look at the next chart. Okay, so these all look pretty much the same at this point. So the real difference will come when you have like a long column of them. So in other words, trying to match it to the knit 2 together can be really difficult, and that is where you're going to see the difference. So if you are trying these different ones out, then definitely try them over several rows so you can see how that line works out for you. Okay, so, but luckily in chart F, there aren't any SSKs, so you don't have to worry about it. So let's take a look at the middle here. So usually when you're looking at the spine of a shawl, you're gonna see like one stitch column down the middle, and then all of the increases are going to be right at the edge here, so that when you look at the shawl spine, you see one stitch and then it has an increase on either side, like either a yarn over or make ones or something like that. But on this one, this is actually, I've moved the increases in from the edge. So what this is going to do is going to give you a center of 5 stitches across. So I could have put 5 stitches straight down the center and then the yarn overs on either side, but something is coming later that makes this make more sense. So I chose to keep it like this. So this is going to give you a straight section in the middle. You're going to have 5 stitches across, and then you'll have a yarn over on either side. Okay. So let me just show you how to do the CDD. Oh, the other thing I want to talk about. So I often talk about double decreases and how sometimes you have to borrow stitches when you have double decreases. So those of you who may be remembering that, do not worry about this chart, because when the double decrease is right in the middle like this of your entire repeat, nothing has to be done. No stitches will be borrowed in this chart. So as you're looking like this, if this double decrease were next to the repeat line, then you would be pulling stitches from either inside the repeat or on the other side into the repeat. So this, however, totally works out within this repeat right here, and you are not going to have to do anything. This is going to work out perfectly. So questions, keep the markers on our center stitch throughout. Yes, definitely keep them on the center stitch, because as you go, later on you're going to have some more T increases. So you want to keep that center stitch marked so you can find it again easily. And just as an aside, whenever I do a shawl, I always mark the center stitch. So even if the pattern doesn't say mark the center stitch, I definitely suggest doing it somehow, because if you get off on that center stitch, that is going to be really, really obvious. Like other stuff within the rows to either side can kind of be hidden, but that center stitch, if it gets off and you kind of like things get wonky going one way or the other, that's super, super hard to hide it, and then you're going to have to rip, and that would stink. So let's do the CDD. Okay, so here we are. So for a CDD, it's a centered double decrease. It involves 3 stitches, and what it does is it places this middle stitch on top. So it will create a straight line going up. You'll see the middle stitch. So to do that, I'm going to insert my needle into 2 stitches as though I wanted to knit them together, but I'm just going to slip them. And then I'm going to knit a stitch and then pass the slipped stitches over. So that puts my center stitch on top of the other 2 stitches. So this is going to create like a column of unbroken stitches right up the center. Okay, so let me just show you this again. So I should probably do this English style, huh? Okay, so I'm going to insert my needle into 2 stitches as if to knit them together, and then slip them off onto my right needle. And now I'm going to knit 1 stitch, and then I'm going to pass these 2 slipped stitches over the stitch I just knit. And that is going to give you, that center stitch is going to be on top of the other 2 stitches. Okay. Oh, and Sue said, I want to thank you for your generosity with the experiment. Don't feel guilty. I know a lot of you, so I'll talk a little bit about that after I finish, in case some of you are not subscribed to my newsletter. Okay, so that is, I'm just going to turn this over. I'm going to turn this over and show you what it looks like when you have a whole row of them. And since we're doing this, and I did not put a yarn over in here, I'm going to show you how to pick up a yarn over if you've missed one. You're just going to pick up that bar in between, like that little bar of yarn in between stitches, onto your needle and work it just like any other stitch. Super easy. Okay, so let's do this so you can see what it looks like to have a column of stitches. Okay, so I'm going to slip 2 together like that. I'm going to pass this over. So you can see how that looks completely unbroken here. That is what you're going after. So the thing about lace is you have to pay attention to the unbroken stitches. So when you're looking at a chart like this, you can't just add increases or decreases. This is why so often when somebody maybe misses a stitch, or there are too many stitches or something like that, and you think, okay, well, I'm just going to add or subtract a stitch somewhere, it doesn't always work out because it can break that line of stitches, and once the line of stitches is broken like this, it makes it look really obvious. So just as a cautionary tale, because lace is special. Okay. Anyway, so that is what it looks like. You can see this nice unbroken thing here. Okay, so I think I got everybody's questions. However, if you have any other questions, please let me know. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my experiment while you gather your thoughts and questions together. So I know a lot of people are going through a tough time right now, and I am one of them. This is a difficult timeline. So I decided to see what I could do to help, have us all come together and all benefit from it. So I've been trying. I've been in my newsletter. If you get my newsletter, you'll see that I've been marking down a random pattern to like a super steep discount every couple weeks or so, and hoping that like more people will be able to purchase it, and so I'll be able to make my costs back by having more people purchase it, and then you will get a nice super inexpensive pattern. So usually they're like $2. So it's a $2 pattern, and then also I have been, like, my ebooks are usually $20 to $24, and so if the pattern comes in an ebook, I've been marking that down to $10, so that like it was half off. So hopefully, we can all spread some love to each other. And that's what that's all about. So let's see if there are any questions in here. Oh, Sue says I've been waiting for Lithia. Yeah, I am a little buried right now. So Lithia will be coming later on this year, I hope. So I don't have access to a lot of my stuff right now. So later on, I will do what I can, and hopefully my amazing son will be around and he'll be able to model it for me, because that always makes things look way better. He always makes things look really well, really good. But he's been traveling a lot, so I rarely ever see him. And yeah, what can you do, Let's see. So a son asked, how do I sign up for the newsletter? There should be a link in the show notes, but there may not be. I meant to put one in there, and I will check and make sure there is one in there. And if there isn't, I will add it, but there should be a link to my newsletter down there. And let me see. Yes. Maria says, I've learned the hard way, no lace knitting if having more than one glass of wine. That is so true. So true. So you should definitely find something else to knit if you are having a glass of wine, because it can be a disaster, truly. Okay, so let me see. Okay. I don't see any other questions. But if you think of any, write to me or ask in my Ravelry group. If you write to me, I'll also talk about it in my newsletter and in my live. And yeah, I mean, if you have a question, you can pretty much assume that other people have the same question. So please don't feel shy about it. We all read things differently, and even though I think about giving you the information in lots of different ways, it doesn't always work out. So I mean, it's all good. So I'm here to answer questions, and the Ravelry group in particular is an amazing support, because there's so many different types of knitters in the group, and somebody will probably look at things the way that you do. So yeah, come on over and hang out. So let's see, any other questions? Okay, so tinking and drinking, I love it. Okay, well, thank you all so much for joining me today, and happy knitting. Have an amazing weekend. I hope that you enjoy the clue, and I can't wait to show you the next one too. So take care, everybody. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye. Take care.